The reality is it's not affording any protection at all. It's just basically a feel-good exercise.
The northern zone and southern zone rock lobster industry is worth about $280 million to our state. It's critically important to the state's economy and also vitally important for those regional communities.
And it's an export industry, it generates new money into the regional economy. It's not a finite quantity of anything that you can dig out of the ground and it's gone. It's clean, it's green, it's renewable, and we're looking at locking out that sustainable production for no real net environmental gain.
We find it hard to understand why they're proposing these marine parks, how they can draw a line in the ocean or on a bit of paper and think that this is going to save the ocean.
Why would we create a so-called no fish sanctuary zone and then not have protective mechanisms within? There's no protection from the threats, the bilges, the chips bilges and the invasive species. All it's going to do is hamstring some really vital food industries that we need for South Australia.
If there's something to look after, it should be looked after, and it should be looked after in the right place. But just to come along and plonk marine parks around the coast just to please the political side of things is not what we want.
I think they're looking at their own back pockets, their own votes. They're not worried about the country.
In the same sort of sentence, the government are getting excited about exporting seafood overseas and our dynamic and exciting food industries. The average voter in Adelaide or South Australia doesn't actually understand how we've got here.
We're a very heavily regulated industry. We have minimum size limits, we have total allowable catch limits across the whole fishery, we have individual catch limits for ourselves, we have closed seasons, we have prohibition on the take of buried females.
We have a very sustainable fishing industry at the moment with a lot of research that is paid by the fishermen for the fishermen, and we work very closely with the government already in maintaining our sustainability.
I'm amazed at how much monitoring goes on. PIRSA Fisheries, Fishwatch, SARDI with their data collection.
Seen lots of changes from pot reductions that we used to have, spanning over the period of 20 years to now to quota, input controls. It's just government's thrown a lot at us and we've taken it on the chin and accepted it.
You can't be a fisherman without having respect for the ocean and obviously the environment we work in, because that's what we make our living from. So, we have to look after it. It just goes without saying. If we wreck it, then we've wrecked our own industry, which is, you're not going to do that.
It's a very sustainable industry. It's a very family-based industry. It's not corporate.
We entered this industry that looked viable, had increasing fish stock, and now we're actually faced with losing some of our fishing grounds to marine park sanctuary zones, which is going to make our business potentially worth nothing.
It's going to have a huge impact on the local towns. There's a lot of little businesses up and down. There's your fuel shops and your grocery shops where people come in.
They just won't go fishing. They'll go bankrupt, or they'll find jobs elsewhere. They'll leave the small communities. It'll devastate small communities.
But also the flow-on effect is more devastating. We need this for our local economies in the regional areas, and we particularly need it for export to continue to bring in new money into the state.
It really is hard to understand why the government would even think about affecting the economic climate that we're in at the moment.
It's just been this very heavy-handed approach and them and us attitude, which it's just never going to work.
They say at the moment that they're going to take a certain part, but does that necessarily mean in the future they're not going to take more? And then where does that leave us?
You do put a question mark as to whether you keep investing in the same industry.
What future certainty do these people have in their businesses, their livelihoods?
Who's going to pay for the policing of them? Who is going to police them? And who comes up the cost?
Do they expect the industry to pay for that? Do they expect the community to pay for that? And are we just going to have zones for the sake of having zones as a political exercise, or are we going to generate some real environmental benefit for this state in South Australia?
We need to get the message out there that we are good for the environment, we are custodians, and we take roles in that very seriously.
To bring in sanctuary zones which are not scientifically supported, it's devastating. It's saying that what we have done and all the research we have done and all the work we have done through generations, it's all wrong.
It's really hard to understand why we're getting all this stuff thrown at us. We wouldn't be standing here trying to discuss the marine parks if we thought we were at fault. We wouldn't be doing all this work.
They say these areas are pristine, and I agree with that. They are pristine. They're pristine after 100 odd years of us fishing them.
Look at it, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful area and we do everything we can to protect it. We're not going to destroy it. It's our future.